Okay, again, my name is Lori Kroger. I'm president of Pandora.org. We are conducting the Advocate Extraordinaire Patient Strategy Training for the drug development workshop for fibromyalgia, and the FDA is putting this on. There's going to be a public meeting on patient-focused drug development, and this is going to happen on December 10th from 1 to 5 p.m. They had a period where you could register to view it live. I believe that has ended. I think that they ended that time period, but it's going to be at the White Oak campus on New Hampshire Avenue, Building 31, in the Conference Center, Section A of the Great Room. And again, that's in Silver Spring, Maryland. And for those of you who registered, you will be able to see it via the webcast. The FDA workshop includes a patient perspective day, and this is part of the patient focused drug development initiative, and it's being done for 20 disease areas, and fibromyalgia is the second meeting. It's a one-day meeting that will gather the patient's perspective on the disease impact on the quality of life and the individual experience with current treatments. Um, the first, let's see here, the first meeting was on MECFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome, myalgic encephalomyelitis. And Pandora embraces MECFS, Lyme disease, fibromyalgia, Gulf illness, because they are all underserved, they're difficult to diagnose, and really they share a lot of the similar symptoms. And many people have been diagnosed with more than one of these diseases. And what we call them is neuroendocrine immune diseases because they affect multiple body systems at the same time. And like I said, we were involved in the first meeting with MECFS, and that's we found that the FDA really listened to the patients and really understood how devastating the disease can be. It was kind of funny to watch. I wasn't there in person, but I watched via the webcam, and you could literally see light bulbs going off in everyone's, that they finally understood exactly how serious the illness was. So we have a very high hopes that the same will happen for fibromyalgia. We do know that fibromyalgia, there is a wide spectrum. There are some people who have it mild and they can work part-time, some full-time. And then you have the other end of the spectrum where people are very severely affected. And a lot of them are maybe housebound. They had to quit their job and they're very debilitated. And this is the time when you'll be able to tell the FDA exactly how you are feeling. Okay, now why isn't it changing? There we go. Okay. What will this activity achieve? Well, it's going to attract pharma to invest in this disease. And we already know that there are a lot of pharmaceutical companies who have been developing medication, repurposing medication for fibromyalgia. It could also highlight some biomarkers and outcome measures through what's when you talk about what is happening inside of your body and what you feel like, they might be able to say, oh, you know what, that could be a biomarker. It also ensures pharma and the FDA understand the nature and the severity of the disease from the patient's perspective. And it also gives the patient perspective of risk benefit to improve drug development and approval. And the risk benefit, what that really means is that if you are on the severe spectrum and you're homebound and you're maybe even bedbound because you have so much pain, that a drug might carry a certain risk that it's really not approved for fibromyalgia. But you're saying that I would take that drug no matter what uh, some of the side effects may be. The side effects can be nothing compared to the pain I'm experiencing. So I will take that risk of, the thousand uh, risk factors that they always have on the commercials. So that's what that is about. And your role in this drug development workshop is really to give comments that will inform the FDA and attract laboratories, biotech industries, and drug companies to do research in your disease. This is a very important time that we have been given, and we really want to use it wisely so that they can really grasp how serious fibromyalgia can be. The information being presented today will help maximize the public FDA testimony and also written testimony. Think of this as a business meeting, and really the purpose is to sell your product, which is fibromyalgia, to the clients, which would be, again, like I said, the laboratories, biotech industries, um, and drug companies. This also is an opportunity for the FDA, pharmaceutical companies, biotech, and laboratories that will be listening. It will tell them the parts that they don't know and information that they will be interested in. And so we need to speak their language. So when you're talking to the pharmaceutical companies, think about what they need to know to invest in the disease. Um, they really don't want to hear how poorly our community has been treated, that it takes 5 years or more to get diagnosed. I think they kind of know all that. What we really want to do is give them information that will help them understand how to improve the development process for medications. Um, that they have to understand, and they have to understand the severity of the disease. Biotech companies, right now, I know that there's a team of researchers that are looking at nerve stimulation, and it's, I think, an implantable device at the nape of the neck. And if this is found effective in the trial, it would be a division of the FDA who would approve that device or similar devices. The patient perspective is the FDA is having two topics. And the first topic is the disease symptoms and the daily impact of how fibromyalgia impacts you every single day. They want to know and I'm going to read them here because I know some of you are on phone, and I don't know if you could see the computer or the presentation or not. So, first of all, they want to know, of all the symptoms that you experience because of your condition, which 1 to 3 symptoms have the most significant impact on your life? And examples might include, your chronic pain, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, sleep disorders, viral infections, um, maybe some unusual ones would maybe be a rash that you get and you don't know why. You can't figure out why that comes up. And number two, they are Are there specific activities that are important to you, but that you cannot do at all or as fully as you would like because of your condition? And those examples might be you can't sleep through the night, you can't do your daily hygiene, you're unable to drive or do household chores or even cook a meal. And then they want to know, how do your symptoms and their negative impacts affect your daily life on the best days and on the worst days? So you might say something like, on the best days, I can concentrate for 3 hours, but I can never concentrate enough to do math to balance my checkbook. On the worst days, I can't get out of bed except to use the bathroom. And then the third question is, how have your condition and its symptoms changed over time? A, do your symptoms come and go? And if so, do you know of anything that makes your symptoms better or worse? And then they also want to know what worries you most about your condition. So those are the things that they want to know. The best way to give an effective presentation or comment, because the docket will be open until I think February 10th of 2014, where you'll be able to go in and you can write a public testimony to how fibromyalgia affects you. And for those of you who can see the screen, and then for those of you who can't, where there are, we want you to connect the dots. So there are signs and symptoms, and connect that to the loss of function. And then connect the treatments tried, that changes in symptoms and maybe any test abnormalities. It's important that pharmaceutical companies in the room understand the nature of the biological dysfunctions. You're going to use plain language, but pharma and other companies will be able to interpret that into what is happening at the cellular level or physically in the body. Again, I said, there's a wide spectrum from mild to severe. The TV commercials that air, like for Lyrica and some of the other medications that are used for fibromyalgia, they show the mild condition. And I can get fibromyalgia pretty severe. And even when I take some medication, I'm on Neurontin, some days I can't get out of bed, but the TV commercial doesn't show that. So this is the time where they need to hear how severe fibromyalgia can be. Um, if you have any abnormal tests, this would also be a way of connecting your signs and symptoms to maybe a test that you had. I know that a lot of blood tests do not show any abnormality at all. But if you are in a study for fibromyalgia, and maybe you are in a study that's looking at the FM/a test that looks for chemokines and cytokines, or if you are in a study where you do have that implantable nerve stimulator or the small fiber neurons, let them know that you're in that study and what symptoms they are treating and how they affected that. Did some of your symptoms change? Do you have a better quality of life because of that? So again, connect the dots to show your signs and symptoms, and connect that with a loss of function or your lab tests, and show how your treatments changed your symptoms and tests. Really, we want to avoid the vague terms like fibro-fog. Everybody on this call knows exactly what, if you say, "Oh, I'm having a really bad fibro-fog day," we can understand what that means. But pharmaceutical companies and maybe some of the FDA really doesn't understand what fibro-fog means. Get very specific. You might want to say, "I'm unable to think or process new information. I can't participate fully in a conversation. I feel like I have a hangover, or I can't understand what people are saying. There's sometimes I confuse what they are saying. I interpret it wrong. Instead of saying tired, tell them exactly what's happening. What's making you tired? Is it muscle weakness where you have no energy? Do you have no stamina? Do you feel like your body is made out of lead? I know that sometimes my legs feel so heavy that it's hard to move. I call them my Frankenstein legs. Um, and pain. Pain has different qualities. There could be, burning pain, there can be stabbing pain, there can be an achiness. So you might want to use those terms. My muscles are aching and I don't know why. I feel like I have the flu. I just ache from head to toe. Um, Anybody who lives in Michigan or in the northern states that live by water, there are times when in the springtime it could be really warm. We could maybe have a 78-degree day, and yet the water of Lake Michigan is still frigid. It's still maybe only 40 degrees, but you have the sun beating down on you. It feels very hot, and you think, "Oh, I haven't been in the water all winter long. I'm going to go step in." And so you roll up your pant legs and you step in the water, only to find that it is causing that bone pain. It's so cold you can feel it to your bone, and that pain shoots up your leg to your hip. Well, that's the kind of pain I get sometimes with my fibromyalgia. And if you explain that, that is giving a better description instead of just saying, "Oh, well, I have pain." Okay. And again, remember to be specific. I have aching muscles so bad I can't move. So you're giving your symptom to what your function is. I have no energy. So I'm unable to think clearly in the morning. So I can't get up and go to work. I can't fall asleep. So I'm unable to make appointments the next morning, where I have migraines that keep me from doing my housework, preparing meals, or leaving the house. I can't do math without making mistakes. Um, so these are some of the things that you might want to say, and to try to be as specific as possible. Some other examples are, what are some of the therapies you have tried to your symptoms. Again, we're trying to connect the dots for them. I could say I receive light massages that temporarily increase the achiness, but it really calms my nerves, which lessens anxiety and increases my ability to think. When I have job stress, my sharp rotating pain next to my joints get much worse. Less stress means less sharp pain. When I take a 15-minute afternoon nap, I gain 2 hours of mental and physical energy, but that's all, no more. Um, okay. Then on topic 2, they're going to ask these questions. Basically, it's going to be, what symptoms do your treatments address? How has treatment changed over time and why? How well do your current treatments affect your worst symptoms? Have they improved your daily life? Have they improved your activity? If your condition has changed, how well do these treatments work? And what are the downsides of your treatments? So, for example, for number one, what are you currently doing to help treat your conditions or symptoms? Your examples might include your prescription medication, over-the-counter products, other therapies, including non-drug therapies such as exercise or acupuncture, maybe yoga. Um, you could maybe say, I take ginkgo biloba to help my memory. And then the subtitle A, what specific symptoms do your treatments address? You could say that maybe something that I don't have the stamina and energy, so I take CoQ10 because I know that helps the fatigue. CoQ10 is part of the Krebs cycle that produces energy production for your body, and so the pharmaceutical companies might be able to pick up on that if you were to say something like that. And then B, how has your treatment regimen changed over time and why? You could say, I used to take much more pain medication until I tried Neurontin. Once I started on the Neurontin, my pain decreased and I am no longer taking pain medication. 2, how well does your current treatment regimen treat the most significant symptoms of your disease? And then they'll ask, how well do these treatments improve your ability to do specific activities? And again, we want to show the treatment results and remember to be specific. When I take low dose naltrexone, I'm more alert and my achiness and morning stiffness is less. When I take muscle relaxers, I'm able to sleep better, so I have more energy the next day. Another example might be I tried Lyrica, but it only lessened the severe achy muscle pain by, 10%, 30%, whatever it was, but it caused a lot of weight gain, so I had to stop taking it. Some of the things that won't help. Um, and I'm going to read the slide again because I know some of you are on the phone and might not be able to see the presentation. It is what won't help is telling them about the lack of knowledge that doctors have and how long it's been took to get diagnosed, problems with the healthcare system, society's attitudes, the criteria controversy, complaints of the FDA policies or other government agencies, or other illnesses that come along with fibromyalgia. Remember, the audience is really the pharmaceutical companies and the biotech and laboratory companies that come up with testing. So always keep in mind, what do they need to know and what do they really not care about? What information will bore them and what will make them interested and listen? Remember, they are a business and they're looking for customers for their products or products they can develop. So, what information will show them that our illness is one that they can sell their products for? Um, Again, like I said, we had the first PDUFA meeting was with myalgic encephalomyelitis or chronic fatigue syndrome. Fibromyalgia is much further ahead than the latter diseases because there are absolutely no drug approved therapies for chronic fatigue syndrome or myalgic encephalomyelitis. So they oh, and another thing is that pharmaceutical companies really don't focus on other companies offering so much as what they have to bring to the table. And a lot of times pharmaceutical companies have a lot of formulas sitting on the shelf. And some of them have already been approved and some haven't. So if you give them maybe a little hint of something where they could maybe see a physiological or maybe a what they would call a little biomarker, and they could say, hey, I have this on the shelf, and we think that this would be able to help. Maybe we could repurpose it. So that's one of the things. Okay. What public comments do, even in written form, it brings the patient perspective into drug development and the approval process, and it really puts a face to the disease. A lot of times, researchers, pharmaceutical companies, laboratories, biotech companies, they're in their little silos looking in their microscopes, or and they don't really have a face to the disease. But once they see that there is really a person on the other side of the disease, it really makes it more personal, and it gives them great incentive to want to help. And so when you're giving your public comment, you're also are speaking from the heart. And this is very, very empowering. Oops, I think I missed a slide. I'm going to go back here. Yep, I did. For your public comments, you want to really put your most important point first. If you're going to be there giving public comment in person to the FDA, sometimes they only allow 2 to 3 minutes, just depending how many people are going to show up and how many people want to give public comment. So they limit your testimony. So if the most important thing you say is at the end and your time takes 4 minutes instead of 3 minutes, and they cut you off and they say, oh, you're done, they're not going to hear your most important point. So really state that first for both written and in-person comments. So, and if you are in person, because you don't know exactly how much time you're going to be allotted, I would write a 3-minute testimony and a 2-minute testimony. And again, use plain language, and be specific. Tell, what drugs have you tried, if any, and what were the results? And make your testimony count. This is the first time that they really want to hear from us. And so we really want to stick to the key points and let them know the full spectrum of fibromyalgia. Then again, we'll go to the empowering slide. And what's nice is that there's the advocates and patients are working together, and we're working smarter, and it's really empowering when we do that. And I do have to say again that the FDA really captured the myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, and the disparities. They put out a report. You could look it up. It's called The Voice of the Patient for ME and CFS. And they really captured how severe the disease can be. And we were really impressed of how well they really did listen. The deadlines are February 10th to submit your written comment, and you can submit that through www.regulations.gov. And for those on the phone, I'm going to spell it all out. www.regulations.gov. The docket number is FDA, and then there's a little hyphen, 2013, a hyphen, a capital N like Nancy, hyphen 1041. And that is the docket number where you'll be able to submit your written comment. They allow 5,000 characters on a form. If you have something that's longer than that, You can turn it into a PDF or a Word document, and you could add it and submit it as an attachment. I want to thank you for your time, for being an advocate extraordinaire. It is our hope that treatment options will increase, that one day a cure will soon follow, and we're looking forward to a day where patient outcomes are improved. And I want you all to be well. What I'm going to do at this time is I am going to open up the unmute everybody unless there's somebody who is has a lot of noise in their background. I have the capability of muting you, and you can ask questions, and we can talk. And I'm actually going to turn the recording off for this.